live stream. We're actually all live streaming. Dr. Witherspoon's on board, Dr. Long, Ms. Eva Wilson, Commissioner Lominac, and myself, and of course, Chris, who is managing the IT for us. So this is the administration committee meeting. Let's see. We have an agenda before us. Information items, which we have none. Are there any changes to the agenda, Dr. Witherspoon?
No changes.
Okay. May you please, Mr. Lominac, entertain a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second that. Any point of discussion at this point?
Well, yeah, I do have some questions. At the last committee meeting 2 weeks ago, I moved to place on today's agenda an information item to review an issue regarding monitoring of purchase cards. I don't want to get into the weeds because it's not on the agenda and that would violate FOIA, but I do want to provide a little bit of context. A document has been circulated very widely that raises substantial concerns about oversight of purchase cards. One of the folks who brought it to my attention is actually a legislator, and I was talking to that person about the education scholarship account legislation, and this memo was used as a reason that we don't need any more money. And the internal auditor has raised issues about purchase card monitoring for years. The audit committee has not met in 3 years. And right now, the standing committees do nothing more than divvy up the next week's board meeting agenda, and then we come back and all duplicate efforts. So this type of work seems well suited to a standing committee. And I would love to get a better sense of how, two voting members on the committee vote unanimously to add something to the agenda, and after the meeting, by a non-voting person, it gets removed. Is there any information that can be provided about that process?
Dr. Witherspoon? I do recall a motion that passed at the last committee meeting to actually as an information item. So I was surprised to not see it on the agenda today. So what happened?
Yes. The committees are designed, I think Chairwoman Harris mentioned this in the last meeting, are designed for those items that are going to the board relative to those particular items. And the only thing I can say, in terms of that from my vantage point is, we try to contact the chair in terms of that.
Well, if Mr. Lominac, you want to say something or?
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, there's only so much Dr. Witherspoon could do, I guess, if the chairwoman of the board instructed that this item not be included on the agenda. But I do want to make it very clear that the policies, the Richland One written policies about standing committees do not say that we will only entertain issues that are coming up at the next board meeting. Indeed, that's not normally how board committees work. The point of board committees is to take on longer term issues and then report back to the full board. Obviously, the board committee cannot, any standing committee can't take action on behalf of the full board, but they can sure look into issues. And this seems like one of those issues that we just cannot ignore if we are to try to maintain, the perception that we're spending money wisely and overseeing it correctly. So I think this is going to be an issue that we're going to have to continue to work on. And I think the administration committee is the current standing committee most well suited to do it, especially since the audit committee apparently no longer meets, which I think, is obviously another concern that this issue specifically is concerned about audits, and that committee hasn't functioned for 3 years. So, I'll reach out to Ms. Williams as the attorney as well to try to understand how a duly voted on motion can be revoked after the meeting without any heads up to the actual voting members of the board, and I'll report back on that.
Okay, yes. Just to add to that, make note, Dr. Witherspoon. I think that's right. When in reading the policy regarding committee work, it does not limit the committee to any agenda items that only the board and the administration and the board chair have discussed. In fact, each committee has a board chair. So, all right. Well, we'll
Good afternoon, guys. This is Commissioner Harris. I'm on the call. Mr. Lomanak, if you would please call me afterwards, and so I can better explain that the purpose of the committees as is outlined in policy as to what we discuss in our committee meetings. A board member cannot make a motion without the full board voting and agreeing to a discussion of this magnitude. And that's what I shared with everyone collectively in the board meeting.
What's the magnitude? Ms. Harris, can you specify the magnitude? What motion?
Mr. Lomanak made a motion to review a policy. I stated in the board meeting that we just had, there's no issue with reviewing a policy. Just bring it to the full board. I brought that out in the meeting, but that did not occur. So again, I'm going to request of Mr. Lomanak, please bring your concern to the full board. And we can talk about this and we can do what needs to be done, guys.
Ms.
But
Harris,
King,
there's
you've
nothing
known
in the
board for
policy
10 years,
of the
and you know as well as I know, Ms. King, that when we break out in committees, it's to review the agenda for the board meeting.
Ms. Harris,
So guys, let's not get messy.
Ms. Harris,
Okay,
you're out
let's
of
be
order.
fair and let's follow protocol
Ms.
and let's
Harris,
follow
you are
order.
out of
No,
order.
the A&A committee, you are discussing something that is not on the agenda. So right now, you all have deviated from FOIA.
No, ma'am, you're out
Yes,
of order.
is what you're discussing
Ms.
listed on
Harris.
that agenda. Ms. King, is what you are
Ms.
discussing
Harris.
right now listed on the
I
agenda.
am
It is
chair
not.
of this committee, just like
You are the
chair of
committee
the
chairwoman,
board.
but you are not the chair of the board.
But
And
I'm
there is
chair
a
of the
difference.
committee, and right now we're in committee.
And I am on here with you as an ex officio member, just as I've done the other committees.
Mrs. Harris, I
Follow
will.
protocol, Ms. King.
Ms.
Follow
Harris,
protocol.
please avoid interrupting. I
No,
am
Ms.
very
King.
happy that you joined our committee. No one is. In fact, the full board could be on this committee, given that it is a legitimate board meeting with a quorum, according to the definition of the Attorney General's opinion.
And that is why you cannot conduct a vote to review a
Okay, you're back on now.
Well, what happened, Chris? Why was the feed not working?
I'm looking into that now. I think I may have unplugged myself. I'm sorry.
Well, that's problematic. Dr. Witherspoon, this needs to be addressed. All right, Mr. Lominac, you were saying that, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I did want to respond. I specifically haven't talked about specifics because my requested agenda item wasn't placed on the agenda, but I felt like there was some context that was needed to explain why I moved and why it was voted on at the last committee meeting. We had a quorum at the last committee meeting. We followed Robert's rules, which is, I think, what governs our committee meetings and our full board meetings. And so I'll certainly bring this to the attention of the full board and request more information from the superintendent and request that the full board take this up. But that should never restrict a committee from duly voting on an agenda item and it being on the agenda item. I think that it is problematic when the only two members on a committee vote and then the agenda item does not appear. So I do think that's a concern, and it violates the way committees are supposed to work. And there's nothing and I'm looking at our policies right now. There's nothing in our policy that says committees can only address the agenda items of the board.
Again, Mr. Lominac, that's the importance of training, because the committee handles the 3 areas that's covered in our board meetings. If you look at the board meeting agenda, the committees address the things that are specified on the board meeting's agenda. That's why I'm saying to you, if there's a request, bring it to the board so we take up the matter, and then at that time, if it's approved, then we add it to the agenda the right way. The committee meeting is just that. It's a subjective group of people that are pulled off of the board to review the listed items for the board meeting to come. Not to investigate this or to investigate that. You have a specified purpose in committee. That is what I'm saying to you. If there's a concern, bring it to the full board the right way so we can do what needs to be done, but we cannot do it in committee because you've got 5 other board members that don't know what's going on. Going back to transparency. This way everybody is aware. That is all I am saying, is to make sure everyone is getting the same information at the same time.
Ms. Harris, not everyone is getting the same information at the same time because we have 3 different committees with 3 different agendas. So we're not getting the same information. And these committee meetings, by the way, are public meetings. So everyone actually has access to getting the same information. So you're going to have to help me a little bit more on that.
Ms. King, I think you know exactly what I'm saying.
Well,
That
I
agenda right now that you all are reviewing, the portion that you all are covering, everybody on this board can see it. If they want to come on and listen on, they can. We've had board members to come on to committees that we were not assigned to get the information.
That's correct.
So it's okay for them to come on and hear the information. So what you're saying is not making any sense. But if there's something we need to look into, please bring it to the full board. That is all I'm asking. Bring it to everybody so everybody is aware. We add it to the agenda so everybody sees it listed on the agenda.
Well, it will be listed.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Ms. Harris, the motion that was made would have put an agenda item on the agenda. So it would have been publicly made at the time of the request and the vote, and it would have been posted for this committee meeting so everyone can see it. It's completely transparent. So those conditions are all met.
Completely transparent to the entire board.
Right.
To know the matter that Mr. Lominac is referring to. If Mr. Lominac will do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it so we can make sure that everyone is aware of what we're reviewing and why. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, does this close out the discussion, Mr. Lominac? Okay. So we have a motion on the floor, which is to approve the agenda which has nothing on it for information item. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Well, that pretty much covers it for the information items. Now we will go into executive session. There is only one item on the executive session, and it's item, I believe it's 3.1, hiring of personnel. That's right, 3.1, hiring of personnel. That's what's on that usually is the hiring of teachers. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
I so move.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well, can't see Eva here, but